Senator Murkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for this hearing this morning. Obviously, a very, very timely topic. As was just alluded to in Senator Hirono's question, there's a lot of good that we can gain from AI, and as scary, I think, as it is in so many different areas, I think it's important not to lose sight that when utilized correctly, it can truly be transformational. So, a question to you, Secretary Turk. As we're looking to different applications for good within AI technologies and AI workflows, we talk a lot here in this committee, and we've been talking a lot about things like permitting reform. Something that has proven to be tediously long and involving multi-layers of government processes. Do you see application for being able to streamline some internal government processes so that we can reduce the time, for instance, that it might take for an agency to deliver on a permit, or to really just kind of process any paperwork, reduce workloads? How do you see this being utilized for the good?
Well, I think the short answer is absolutely. We're sitting on a treasure trove of data from previous applicants for different permits out there. If we can harness that data with algorithms, with AI, we can shrink the timelines with permitting. We can take advantage of that data in a way that allows us to do what we need to do, is build out our electricity infrastructure, our transmission, other kinds of infrastructure that we need in our country. So there's no doubt in my mind there's an awful lot of good that can happen in the energy space, including accelerating on the permitting side. We've got a lot of renewables coming into the grid. We've got to balance all of that. AI can be incredibly helpful with the power and the data that it has available.
So you've had an opportunity, a couple opportunities to come to Alaska. You have been read in very well as to many of the unique aspects, and unfortunately, one of the unique aspects that we have is sometimes we have a lack of data. We just haven't done the mapping. We haven't done the review, the analysis, and so we know that with AI, your output is just as good as your input, and if you have these holes in that, it can be a concern in itself. So how can we utilize the benefits of AI in government processes for good, while ensuring that perhaps some states, some areas like Alaska, where data is just not complete, that they're not actually disadvantaged? Have you given thought to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And let me say what it's a pleasure it's been to work with you and your staff. And I have had a chance to not only come up to Alaska and go to Anchorage, but also to get out there to Nome and Kotzebue and other areas and really hear from folks in terms of what we can do from the Department of Energy to try to be helpful in that space. But I think you raise an incredibly important point. AI is only as good as the data that you feed into it, and if you don't have the data, it can't be the powerful tool for good that you just highlighted on that front. So I think it's a continuing effort on our part, and eager to work with you in our Arctic Energy Office to make sure that we are doing everything we can from the Department of Energy, working with others in the federal government to make the investments so that we have that data available so that it can be feeding into these AI models. So it's an ongoing effort. We're trying to make sure that we're bringing that in to everything that we do, but it's an ongoing effort and something that we'll continue working on.
Well, we do need to work together on it, and as we identify, I spend a fair amount of my time on the appropriations side with the Department of Interior budget, and recognize that we're still directing a lot of resources, federal resources, to just basic mapping.
Yep. Just
basic mapping. So we've got a long ways to go there. Let me ask you about Department of Interior. About a month ago, the IG for Interior, Mark Greenblatt, noted in an op-ed in the Washington Post that there had been an inspection undertaken by his office, and they were able to use a simple tool to crack more than 18,000 or 21% of the documents passwords, and this included senior department officials, hundreds belonging to employees with elevated privileges. More than 14 of these passwords were cracked within the first 90 minutes of testing, and he noted that his office was able to do this by spending less than $15,000. That should alarm all of us. Probably a general question, and I hope you answer yes, but we understand what happens or happened at Interior. Is Department of Energy any better prepared to ward off nefarious actors than we saw at DOI?
So we're trying to continually improve. One of the things that makes me most nervous, and you're right to point out the benefits of AI, but one of the biggest challenges, and the technology is only improving and improving, it makes it easier for less sophisticated actors to do more sophisticated kinds of attacks, whether it's cybersecurity or any number of other things, biohazards, even nuclear proliferation efforts as well. And so we've got to take that head on. It's why we need to make the investments in the U.S. government so we can detect these kinds of things. We can be ahead of the curve as much as we possibly can. But this is something we need to keep working on day in and day out, whether it's the Interior Department, the Department of Energy, or private sector companies as well. And this should be a wake-up call. The Pandora's box is open. We now need to deal with it, and we need to take these kinds of emerging AI challenges head on. And we're not there. We're not there where we need to be. We need to make the investments. We need to keep working at this. This is why we wanted to put together a proposal, our FAST proposal, with our ideas of what we think we need to do to try to do what we can from the Department of Energy side. And again, have the back and forth with you, with others here in Congress, to make sure that we are as prepared as we possibly can be. But we've got work to do.
We have work to do. My fear is what we saw within the Department of Interior is just one department of 12. And where the vulnerabilities may be a little bit different, but the impact can be equally disastrous. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Senator Cortez Masto.